what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is Anti-Media Radio.
But I want to get the language right. The government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! Bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, S.M. Gibson.
It is March the 16th, 2017. My name is S.N. Gibson, and you are listening to Anti-Media Radio. Guess what? The news, information, it's dead. All people are interested in is their confirmation bias. What I mean by news is dead, there is no more facts, there is no more truth. There is only what people want to hear, and that's what they're going to believe, whatever side of the aisle you're on, whether it's Republican or Democrat, right, left, independent, conspiracy-oriented, whatever it may be. There's enough information out there that people can have their preconceived ideas reiterated to themselves, basically. So that's what we try to do here at Anti-Media, is we do our best. And again, nobody is perfect in this, but we try to steer clear of the nonsense that you get from the right-left paradigm, especially. Whether we're talking about Trump's taxes, oh, guess what? We're going to get Trump on his taxes. I've said this over and over and over on this show, that's the stupidest thing in the world anybody can go after. And look what happened the other night when Rachel Maddow had her big explosive, oh, we got his tax returns. It did nothing but make Trump look good. Does that mean that there's not stuff out there to criticize Trump over? It certainly does not. But people want to believe all this Russian garbage. Trump's connected to the Russians. Trump's this, Trump's that. There's still zero evidence of that. There's not. I hate to break that to people. There's not. Guess what there is evidence of? There's a lot of evidence that Mr. Drain the Swamp is got 6 people in his administration right now that directly came from Goldman Sachs. Where have we heard that before? Administrations, the one right before this one, the one right before that, that's what happens in this country. They don't want to tell you the facts of what's going on. Wasn't Trump supposed to get us out of all these foreign conflicts? For anybody that's paying attention to anything that's going overseas right now, the exact opposite is happening. They are sending actual troops into the Middle East right now. We've seen raids in Yemen. We have seen 2,500 troops are being sent into Kuwait, of all places, as a staging area that they can launch off from towards Iraq and Syria. Both are sending more troops into Afghanistan. They just announced today that they're going to send 1,000 more troops into Syria, on top of the over 1,000 troops they already have there now. What we're seeing in the Middle East right now is not very good for the detractors to Trump, for the people that are against Trump. There's a lot of material out there for them to be discussing. They don't. Why don't they discuss it? That's a great question. Maybe, possibly, it's because at the end of the day, they all have the exact same interest. Is Trump, did he lie to everybody? That would be typical of a politician. Is it possible that Trump has praised the military so much that he has just kind of given the reins over to the generals? And so the generals are like, we finally get to do whatever we want now. Maybe that's a possibility. And he's not signing off on any of it. We're seeing the battle of the health care bill right now, and it's the Democrats who are complaining about it. And fair enough, there's tons to complain about, but their complaints are kind of aimed in the wrong direction, and they think that they'll stop that bill. But who's actually going to stop it is the right in the context of this. You've got John McCain out here calling Rand Paul a Russian because he doesn't want to add another country into NATO, saying that he's the senator from Kentucky is now working with Vladimir Putin. Again, there is no real news. There is no real truth. It's all confirmation bias. We have to cut through that. People have to start accepting fact. They have to start accepting reality. Until you can accept reality, you are not, in any way, shape, or form, we are not going to get anywhere at all. It's great that it makes you feel good, or it's great that, oh, it's the person you don't like, so it must be this or it must be that. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. No matter who you're talking about. What happened to hating George Bush? Didn't everybody hate George Bush forever? And now that the left loves him? John McCain, same thing. It's because they're saying the things that you already believe. And so now you will follow them too. That's the problem with society. That's the problem with information. That's the problem with media. That's the problem with news. And that's the problem with truth. We are in the post-satire era. Nothing apparently is real in culture. I'm going to go ahead and bring on both of our wonderful co-hosts tonight. I'm going to start off with the man himself, Shannon Madden. Shannon, what is up?
Good evening, fellas. How y'all doing?
Can't complain, sir. Kevin Knight. Kevin, what's going on?
Hey, buddy. Calling from a parking lot in a discreet corner of 280.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, man. Good to be with y'all.
You as well.
And not from a massage parlor in Roebuck, I take it.
No, that's Saturday.
Okay, good deal. Good deal.
Time off. Yeah.
Give me a heads up before you head that way, and I'll see if I can't get free.
Awesome, definitely, man. I need a ride there and back. So, yeah, we'll work it out, man, for sure. But yeah, great to be back with you guys.
You as well. So, your overall view of where we're at now, we're seeing what's going on in the Middle East. I guess before we even go down the path of everything that's going on in the news right now, what we're seeing ramped up in the Middle East right now is just insane. And the corporate, mainstream, whatever you want to call them, media is not even touching it. They're not even talking about it. There's still people out there talking about his tax returns. There was a big story this week about Trump's tax returns, and nothing came of it. What a huge shock. Actually, something did come of it. Trump got a bunch of good, free, amazing PR on his behalf. That's what came out of it.
And kind of not embarrassed, but made some of the other those that paid their supposed fair share or that are in this battle, made them look a little bit worse as well compared to how much Trump actually paid in taxes. Mitt Romney was on there, Bernie Sanders was on there, a couple other of these cronies were on there, and yet Trump, he came off. In fact, what's his name, Van Jones even surprised to hear he was talking about the fact that Trump was really the winner when it came out of that whole argument. And what's her name was the one looking like crap. Can you imagine?
What's her name? Gotta love that.
But look, how many times have I said on this show, whether every single listener, both of y'all, the people around me, other people at anti-media, whoever laughed at me and says, yeah, Trump's this, Trump's this. And I've told people, when it comes to one thing, Trump's a genius. I don't still to this day believe that Trump should be president of the United States. But he's a brilliant, brilliant marketer. We've never seen anything like this.
Hey, what about Trump beefing with Snoop Dogg?
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
But see, here's the thing about that. That's something, people need to remember that Trump is a fan of negative stories about him, as crazy as that sounds. All he wants is his name coming out of people's mouths. Well, he's the president of the United States now, so that's going to happen regardless. It's what topic do they want to assign to him when they're talking about him. And so when there's people talking about Trump and Snoop Dogg, then you're going to get, but what's going to come of that? Like, think about it. What's the outcome? There is no outcome. It's great for pop culture. It's something funny to talk about, and it is. It's hilarious. But there's no real life consequences to it. When we see what's going on in the Middle East, we've seen that he's got another, as they put under Mnuchin this week, as I think it was the assistant secretary of the Treasury, another member of Goldman Sachs in the Trump administration. And nobody mentions that stuff. Nobody talks about that. We see this path going, the same path that we've been on. So, you mentioned Snoop. Look, it's hilarious, but that's the kind of thing Trump wants people talking about. He wants people talking about these kind of side, silly stories, even if they're negative on his behalf. He doesn't care. And I think he'll leak information to reporters for that to happen. I think that's the way his brain works. And I think when it comes to public perception, public persona, getting people on his side, he's great at playing that chess game.
Quick question. Do you think McDonald's really got hacked?
That's a good question. I have no idea. Possibly. That was hilarious, too.
Story up on the front page, antimedia.org, right now, about the, I guess, Twitter. Well, we're really in a Twitter war. McDonald's kind of laid a little bit of a smackdown, and then they deleted their tweets and claimed that the account was hacked. Now, I don't know, and we all don't know if that claim is correct or not, because if I'm not mistaken, there is a member of Obama's staff working for the McDonald's media side of things, if I'm not mistaken. And there was one article that I read, which I believe is the article on the page, that kind of, maybe kind of points a finger in that direction as a possibility. I don't know. That really is strange that, of all people, McDonald's would get their account hacked just to send out a little "screw you, Trump" tweet on their account. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean,
anything's possible.
I can understand if it was a widespread hack and there was a lot of crazy stuff going on, but it was just that one tweet. Who would go through all the trouble to hack McDonald's account just for the one tweet? It really wasn't even that salacious if you get down to it.
No, and of course, McDonald's is going to spin it PR-wise and say that it was hacked, no matter if it was or it was not. And they're just going to say they're going to investigate it, whether it was the CEO of the company that sent that tweet out. It's irrelevant. That, their story is going to be their story. One thing, though, you bringing up McDonald's, there are McDonald's all over the United States of America. There are also McDonald's in Mexico. And now they want to put up a wall to divide all these thousands of McDonald's. A wall that Trump has boasted about for months and months, over a year now, I guess, that they want to build this great wall. And he keeps telling people, as we all know, Mexico's going to pay for this wall.
It's going to be beautiful. Oh man, it's going to be beautiful because Mexico is finally going to pay their fair share for sending all of their rapists and criminals over across our borders to infiltrate and destroy American way of life.
It's going
Protecting
to
the women and children, we're going to send them all back across the wall, and it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be great, and Mexico is going to pay for it. So go ahead and give us the punchline.
Yeah,
go ahead and give us the punchline.
Big and beautiful wall. Here's the problem with that. Not only is Mexico not going to pay for that wall, the American people are going to pay for that wall. Now that Trump has released his budget, we have found that it's official
So
now.
wait a minute. So we get a 10-year-old tax return and a budget pretty much almost on the same day. That's great. Go ahead.
I will give him this. At least he's presented a budget. The Obama administration really couldn't even get that far. But
hey, and he presented his not only his tax returns, but I'm sure that if you asked him, he'll show you his birth certificate.
I'm sure he probably will. The thing with this, though, the big important news is the American people will pay for this wall. We now know this for a fact. It was, of course, pretty much a given, but now that the budget's released, and the way that it's going to be is the taxpayers to fund $4.1 billion through 2018 for Trump's wall along the southern border of the United States. But that is just for the initial construction.
Yeah, that seems really low for a wall that size. That really does. That's a low dollar amount.
He has been in real estate for a while, and he has built a bunch of buildings. I think he could build the wall for cheap. That's not even where the maintenance of the wall is going to come in. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the overall cost to taxpayers could be upwards of $21.6 billion.
No, taxpayers are not paying for this. Mexico is.
No, that's not going to happen because clearly the taxpayers are going to pay for this up front. And because that Trump is saying the way that Mexico is going to pay for this is going to be of a 20% tariff on all goods.
Well, there you go. Mexico's paying for. Wait a minute, a tariff? What's a tariff?
And
explain what a tariff is real quick.
That's a tax. Yeah, that's it. That's a tax, Shannon. And the American
wait. So it's a tax on Mexico. So Mexico's going to pay for it, right?
There's a thing called inflation. And the American people are going to pay for this when they go and buy their Corona beer or their tequila, whatever it may be that they're buying, Volkswagens, whatever that you're buying from Mexico.
Well, I think that's great. I think that Mexico should have to pay an extra tax. I mean, come on, man.
They're going to put 20% extra on the price of what you're paying at the store.
So you mean my Coronas are now going to cost me 20% extra?
That's correct. So
that's what a tariff is.
And we're talking and we're not, look, fruits, vegetables, beef, avocados, you name it, it comes across, precious metals, all kinds of stuff. Plastic.
We have so many products and so many goods being shipped in the United States daily from Mexico. It's frightening.
And they're all going to go
now
up.
More than ever.
They're all going to go up to
price of automobiles. All of our automobiles have parts in them that come from Mexico that are manufactured in Mexico. The stuff that is assembled in Mexico. If Mexico touches it in any way whatsoever, handles it in any way whatsoever, it's going to cost the American taxpayers upwards toward 20% more.
Mm-hmm.
Plus interest.
So we're seeing the American people are going to have to pay for this completely up front. And then they're going to have to turn around and pay for it on the back end. So they're paying for it twice.
What?
That's correct. People and I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole tonight because I know that the wall has been discussed at length. I know that, especially because with Nick's show, which is on Monday and Wednesday night on UCY, that they're 8 miles from that border. They're 8 miles from that wall. They've got a lot more insight into it than I certainly do. But you're talking about in the 80s, Reagan was, let's tear down this wall because walls keep people in. It keeps them contained. We want to build a wall for the same thing. We now have seen have you saw the report where people in New Zealand, like there's just Americans like flooding over to New Zealand right now?
No, haven't you seen Lord of the Rings? New Zealand is kind of nice.
It is. It is a very pretty place. But there's actually Americans, and you know, will it ever be enough to make a real dent? Who knows? But there's Americans leaving right now, which is kind of strange. I'll say that, to see Americans for really, you kind of saw it in, you know, I think you kind of get the same cycle of people. Oh, my team's not winning, I'm out. My team's not winning, I'm out. But that doesn't really happen. You know, people threaten it, and you get your regular numbers. But I think people are over the narrative of the left, of the right. I mean, there's still Democrats out there and a section of the Democratic Party that says we're going to get Hillary to run in 2020 and fix all this. What?
Will she still be alive in 2020?
I don't know. I don't know.
Bill won't for sure. So
I don't know. I think there are some benefits of that whole spirit cooking thing, because I'm surprised that Bill, looking the way he does, is still walking the face of this earth.
But how is that?
He's on his third life.
Oh, he's got to be. But how is that a solution to any of this? That's just a continuation of how bad it can get. Like, as much as I don't want Donald Trump to be president for 8 years, I think I'd probably rather have him be president for 8 years than have 4 years of Trump and then 4 years of Hillary. Can you imagine? Who knows?
Well, and you know, to be fair, the Republicans, nearly every single Republican that's walking the four corners of the United States right now, they actually have hope. And there's still a lot of positive, strong feelings for those people that voted for Trump, that he's in there ruffling feathers. You just watch any minute now, he's going to break this whole thing loose. And if they'll just let him do what he wants to do, that's their new mantra now.
Well, see, I think
that I've personally spoken with.
I think, though, that the Republican Party is a lot more divided right now than
oh man, not more so than the Democrats. Democrats are pretty much hollowed out by what happened with Bernie and Hillary.
Yeah, they're done. But I think the Republicans are in a lot worse shape than people realize. And the reason that is look at this health care bill. This is the Republican health care bill. Oh, this is going to, first off, you've got Paul Ryan, who is Eddie Munster meets Hillary Clinton. I mean, that's it.
With a dash of Mitt Romney thrown in.
With a dash of Mitt Romney thrown in. You're seeing the Evan goon from Utah. He's sticking his nose everywhere he can because he's got money and can do it. You've got John McCain, who hilariously, now granted, it was hilarious to say that Rand Paul is working for Russia now. He's working for Putin. Give me a break. And they can't, the Republican Party can't come together over this bill. I think the Republican Party genuinely is in much shambles as the Democrat Party. And the only reason, and the reason probably not, that we have the president we have is because everybody knew Trump really, whatever Trump is, for every negative thing about him, I don't think people would go, yep, he's a staunch Republican. People know he's Donald Trump. And he's not this flag-waving Republican until the past, 2 years. For most of his life, he was a Democrat. He's just Donald Trump. You didn't have a party guy. The people
he's more than just Donald Trump. He is a staunch Donald Trump.
Right, he is that. And the people that were aligned in the party, they got crushed by him every step of the way. I think that the American people are sick of both the parties. They know they're getting screwed with. And what you're seeing from Rand Paul right now, who thankfully isn't running for a national office and playing the game like he played for a while, he's finally starting to call some of this stuff out again. And he's just railing against his health care bill, which he needs to. And he's going to get support. That health care bill will never, ever pass. I don't think Trump knows that. And I think, not only do I think Trump knows that, I believe that it could almost be a setup to make Paul Ryan look like a fool, because it feels like Bannon's involved. It feels like Breitbart's involved to set Ryan up with this terrible bill. What's the end game with this? I don't know, but I don't see the Trump alliance with Breitbart. Breitbart's railing against it. And then you've got Trump or Rand in his own corner with the libertarian corner, which is far away from Breitbart. He's railing against it. It's never going to happen. It's the establishment pushing it. Never going to happen. But maybe that's the plan. Let's just keep this in gridlock and we'll just keep Obamacare. Who knows?
I mean, but you really think that the Dems are going to put Hillary Clinton back up in 2020? There's no way.
If they've got,
there's totally way, and she would want it because it's her chance to.
Well, obviously she'd want it. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. But I mean, do you really think the Democratic Party is still after? I mean, the Clinton Foundation is hollowing out as we speak. People are pulling out left and right from that little thing now that they know that Hillary's not going to be there to sign off on any and all legislation or executive orders to make whatever kind of money they want to make. That I think that I don't know. I kind of have a feeling that we probably are going to see the very last days of the Clinton empire. It's kind of just going to drift off into the sunset.
I think people think that, and then you still hear these rumors of Hillary running in 2020, which I don't realistically see that happening, because that's like suicide that
would be suicide for the whole entire party. And I mean, I think they found that out the hard way when they screwed Bernie Sanders for all the favors that Hillary had cast in over the years.
Because look, just a couple of weeks ago, we saw when they elected the new head of the DNC. I don't think they learned that at all.
Of course not. They won the Electoral College. I mean, and that would be something they would argue in the future is, hey, Hillary.
You mean the popular vote?
Yeah, excuse me, the popular vote. She effectively beat Donald Trump when where it counts would be a great argument to make. Who else had come close? Bernie couldn't.
Well, the clear winner absolutely was nobody, because we had almost 50% of the voting age Americans did not vote in this election. That's a clear winner right there.
Yeah, but you got to remember, they don't care about that. I've told people over and over and over, and again, this is another, I'm wrong, but no, I'm not, is that these politicians prefer there not to be a large turnout. Trump was different. Trump needed a large turnout because he was so going against the grain for whatever he was, because he was so Donald Trump, for whatever that is. He was an entertainer. But
in doing that, he was pretty much anybody that was a Republican, though, whether they liked him or not. And I'm sure that there were a few holdouts at the very end of it. So I guess somebody butthurt about Marco not being their boy. But I mean, pretty much across the board, Trump, in the very end of things, unified the party with the little stunt.
No, I don't believe so. It looked that way. Look, it looked that way on.
I'm not talking about on the inside. I'm talking about on the outside, where the voters stood. Within the party, they're fighting left and right over who and what Trump is and what he's supposed to do, and so on and so forth, and whether he should be there at all.
It was because Paul Ryan and those of his ilk knew to survive, they had to cuddle up to whatever this movement was behind Trump. The difference is Democrats did not learn that with Bernie Sanders. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Because the Democrats didn't learn that lesson, they got destroyed, and they will get destroyed in 2020 for not learning that lesson. People need to realize that if Bernie Sanders tomorrow, with Keith Ellison, and even though he sent out a tweet about Hillary, which just I'm sure got a bunch of eye rolls, but people of the left, progressives of the Democratic Party, they could leave tomorrow and split that party in half, and they could have the Progressive Party, and there would be the Democrat Party, the Progressive Party, and the Republican Party. I'm talking tomorrow it could happen, but if Bernie Sanders willed it to be done. And that's it. Once you split that demographic in two, you're never going to elect anybody else ever again. That's why the Democrats are holding on to it so hard. They can't let that split because you're never going to get elected. But with that being said, it could happen. And I think over time, a progressive party or a new party could just absolutely destroy the Democrat Party where it didn't exist any longer at all. And of course, you'd probably start getting the bleed in and people would see the writing on the wall. And then eventually it would turn into what we have now.
Well, I don't know that it would necessarily destroy the Democratic Party, but it would definitely, it would weaken them to the point where nationally they wouldn't have a true viable hold like they do now.
It would be over. Listen, who under the age of 35 that I think I think a lot of young people probably vote more progressive and more left, or don't vote at all. But we're talking the people that vote. And again, we're talking something that's just, with elections being the way they are, that's a whole nother topic. I understand how voting works and how the rigging works. I totally get that. I'm not dismissing any of that because that is a thing that happens.
Hanging chads.
Right. That is something that does factor into everything we're talking about. But it's not even about the voting as much as it's about how we're going to sway public opinion. And the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, the left and the right, do sway public opinion whether they're voting or not. Would you not agree with that?
Oh, definitely. Sorry, I got a little verklempt there for a moment.
But I think that that young people in this country would all of a sudden become, part of this progressive movement. That if it was to split off, and I think you would have tons of young people in it, and that would the Democratic Party would die off. It would be over and gone.
And Jill Stein's at home licking her chops. Can't you imagine?
Nah,
No, they would have to, considering how small and less influential they are right now. If the Democrat Party went the way of the wayside, there would have to be at least a few stragglers that hop on over and move over to the Green Party. I mean,
or you'd have some of your Libertarian Party, whatever, not necessarily to the Green Party, but if there was a third party that was already kind of somewhat had some of your superstars. From other either
good old civil liberties.
Let's say a third party that was endorsed by Rand Paul, not necessarily the Libertarians, not necessarily the Green Party, but something that was an umbrella that unified all of these other groups. And like you just said a moment ago, Mr. Gibson, about a progressive party, and I know.
But you're never going to get a Rand Paul and a Bernie Sanders on the same page with anything as far as policy goes, and I understand that. But I think, Kevin, to your point, what you were talking about with the Green Party, I do think there's some truth to that, even though I don't think the Green Party is viable on a mass scale. I do think they're licking their chops, whether it's for, it would ever happen, because the day of that Keith Ellison was defeated and did not become the head of the DNC, we ran a story about on the antimedia.org, and it was basically just Twitter reaction. And I'm talking thousands and thousands and thousands of tweets with hashtag #DemExit. And people were fed up, and they said, we're leaving the party. We're leaving the Democrats. This is over. We're sick of this. We're tired of this. And the Green Party shared our story that we had from the antimedia.org. They shared it on their official Twitter account. They shared it on their official Facebook account. And basically, it was just showing how fed up people were with the Democrats. So I do think the Green Party looks to capitalize on this. I don't think they can. And they may can. I don't think they will. But I do think they see that as maybe a way to grow their party. I don't understand how the third parties, especially the Libertarian Party, but either or the Green or the Libertarians, could not expand their reach any more than they did this past election. Because I think so much of this country did not want either candidate that was presented to them. And you saw business as usual in politics. You saw whatever happened with Gary Johnson to get him there, which I still think was a joke. I don't trust how that went down. I still, to this day, don't understand how he became the nominee, other than money. I understand. And I understand the reasons for it, because he went out there and acted like a buffoon.
Yeah, did he even really want to run for president? Or did somebody just kind of remember when Ross Perot picked the admiral, William Stockdale, to be his running mate? And when they had the vice presidential debate, I believe it was 92, he pretty much just kind of repeated over and over again, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why they asked me to be up here. Is my hearing aid on? Remember that? I mean, it's been a long while ago, but I mean, it was just, and I don't know, the whole Gary Johnson idea kind of seemed like somebody just kind of pushed him in the limelight and said, here, you be president.
Well, the thing with Gary, and Kevin can talk to this better than either one of us can, Shannon, is that with Gary, he was just kind of freewheeling, blowing in the wind. But then you had his running mate, who was clearly in bed with Mitt Romney and the Republican Party. That clearly. And Gary was there just to kind of poke holes in the ship, and the rest of the team was there to make sure it gets drilled into the ground.
What is Aleppo? Yeah.
What is that? Yeah, that was the impression that I got. What do you, Kevin? You know more about this than both of us when it comes to Libertarian Party politics, whatever that means. What is your insight? Do we have Kevin on the line?
Kevin is not on the line. Kevin must be experiencing technical difficulties. He does live out in the middle of nowhere, so.
Fair enough.
Get out of the sticks, Kev.
But anyways, look, we're talking politics and we're talking direction of country. As far as voting blocks go, I don't know where it goes. And again, with the whole voting thing, I think so much of it is just, it is what it is. A lot of the crazy stuff Donald Trump says when it comes to that, I don't really discount, and I've thought it for a long time. I think this country is a lot more screwed up than people realize, than people want to admit to themselves. They only see it in these small, dark little corners when it affects them. I think the election was a big one that they had to wake up and realize maybe things weren't exactly how they thought, but they're still not willing to come around and go, oh, wow, this is completely screwed up from top to bottom. It certainly is screwed up from top to bottom. It seems like a ship out of control. I mean, we have a senior senator, John McCain, calling another senator a Russian operative, basically. And really? Really? What evidence do you have of that? Like, are you Joe McCarthy here? Because that's exactly how you're coming across. Actually, you're coming across like a crazy person, like some people in some white robes, or white lab coat, should I say, should come down and take you to the home where you belong.
Well, I don't know. You kind of lost me at John McCain anyways. I've never been able to take John McCain seriously ever. After reading his life story years ago when he ran back in, when was that? 04? Was that 04 or 08?
It was 08. It was 08.
08, yeah. All the years run together now. I'm getting old. Yeah. I can go on for, hours and hours about who John McCain is and, his career in the military and so on and so forth, which there's two very polarizing opinions of who John McCain is and what he's all about and so on and so forth. That's for another episode right there. But, and again, I have to.
No episode I'll be on.
That'll be one of the reruns. Again, that's kind of when John McCain's name comes up, that's the first thing that comes to mind is who he really is. So anytime that he ever says anything like that, which I'm very surprised he's still a politician or he's still allowed to be in anything other than a jail cell.
I mean, it's hilarious, but that's only my whole theater view of it, which is what it's truly become. It has become theater, and that's funny. But in the actual reality of the world, that's terrifying. That's crazy.
Well, and and it's funny because here we are in 2017. 10 years ago, if one senator was to do that to another senator, man, there would be some.
It's illegal. He's not even allowed to do that. That's illegal. He can't do that, but he did it anyway because he's John McCain.
Yeah. And because and we can always retract it later or go ahead and try to smooth it over somehow, or I said what I said clearly tongue in cheek, or you know how they'd spin these things.
Yeah, he don't care. I tell you what, I want to read. Let's see if I can find it here. A quote that kind of ties in a little bit to what we're talking about. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. It is from Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massey. And it's not the most enlightening quote ever, but I think it was pretty funny, and it actually probably ran there's a lot more honesty in it than people would probably like to admit. Okay, this is from Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massey. I went to Iowa twice and came back with Ron Paul. I was with him at every event for the last 3 days in Iowa, Massey said. From what I observed, not just in Iowa, but also in Kentucky, up close with individuals, was that the people that voted for me in Kentucky and the people that had voted for Ron in Iowa several years before were now voting for Trump. In fact, the people that voted for Rand in the primary in Kentucky were preferring Trump as president. All this time, Massey explained, I thought they were voting for Libertarian Republicans, which clearly, this is me. Donald Trump is not a Libertarian Republican. He's not a Libertarian anything. He's Donald Trump. So all this time, Massey explained, I thought they were voting for Libertarian Republicans. But after some soul searching, I realized when they voted for Rand and Ron and me in the primaries, they were not voting for libertarian ideas. They were voting for the craziest son of a bitch in the race. And Donald Trump won best in class, as we had up until he came along. I think there's some truth to that. I think there are some old Ron people that were very ardent and believed what they believed, and I think he turned a lot of people on, and they went in a million different directions with anarchism, which I think we see that still to this day. I think what Ron Paul did spawned an entire movement, and it went everywhere. But the people that were in that movement that did vote for Trump, which there were some, I think those people were just, I don't know if it's the chaos, if it's the whatever it is, but there seems like some sort of attracted to insanity and the theater of it all. Look, I've said many times, if Donald Trump wasn't the president of the United States, he didn't have his finger on the button, he didn't want to bomb half the world, which he's doing, if he didn't want to continue the wars, the expansions, the walls, all this stuff. Look, if he wasn't the president and capable of doing all that, he was just a character on TV. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. But just like I got done saying, John McCain is hilarious for calling Rand Paul a Putin operative. That's funny. But guess what? That's terrifying too. That's a crazy person. We're dealing with just crazy people. Our new reality is we're just dealing with crazy people. And for anybody out there that's leftist leaning or Democrat leaning, they're crazy too. Everybody's crazy. Everybody's crazy. Just enjoy it. Like I said, I started the show off with this. I say it almost every show since Trump's been elected. We're in the post-satire era. Just enjoy the show. Love the people around you. Get right with God. Love your children. Live your life. Be happy. Don't harm other people, because this is crazy. Don't get too wrapped up in it, because what you think you know about it, you do not. This election should have proven that. It's insanity.
I can't help but think that this is a South Park episode, and Cartman got to be president. That's exactly what we're saying.
Yeah, well, the South Park, they even came out and said that we're not even going to make fun of Trump anymore because this is too crazy to even have satire over. Like, you can't even really genuinely do it justice because that's how crazy this is. You were talking earlier, we're living in a world where I wonder when Snoop Dogg is going to respond to the President of the United States' tweets. We live in that world now. Little Bow Wow is going, come on. How can anybody take any of this seriously? We should have done it a long time ago. But people are so wrapped up in the theater, and they don't even realize it. They're wrapped up in their ideologies, and it's this way or it's that way. It's the right or the left, and it's, I know something. No, but look, this pseudo-intellectualism is garbage. I'm going to hold on to the flag at all means, garbage. Love the people around you. They have sent so many people to wars and died in wars for no reason because they wrapped it up in red, white, and blue. That may sound terrible, but it's a fact. That doesn't mean you can't be patriotic at all. Standing up for something is patriotic, but people that actually stand up for something, they get stoned in the streets in America.
Stoned in the streets,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to.
Did I get a little too?
You're getting too heavy, man. You're getting too heavy. We went from McDonald's tweet smacking Donald Trump to getting stoned in the streets. So I don't know, man. I was just trying to make it go full circle. You know what I'm saying?
I'm obviously talking all politically, and it's social media. The world runs on social media. Nothing happens. Well, stuff sometimes happens in the streets. We've seen it bleed out, especially in Berkeley. But the great meme war, it's silly and ridiculous as that is. We live in a silly and ridiculous society, and that's happening. There's all these social arguments, and we're fighting for this, we're fighting for that, but it's all on social media. It's on Facebook and Twitter, and it's just people back and forth with each other. Nothing's being accomplished at all, period. The most you could hope for that is that people are they're actually the facts are getting through, and people are going, wait, this is messed up. Why am I even getting involved on either side of the partisanness of this? That's what people need to get from the internet, and there is a lot to get from it, but there is a lot that is destructive, politically as well as everything else. They blame the internet for fake news. I blame money for fake news. I think fake news I blame money for fake news. I think fake news has existed since the beginning of time. And now, because that information was confined to such narrow avenues, and the people with all the money had control of all the information, they could spew what they wanted and tell you any fake lie that they wanted, and it was just accepted as fact. Now, there's a free market of information. That's what social media is, and there's a lot of garbage on there. Plus, you have to contend with the garbage that's supposedly the official truth, which is all usually pretty much garbage. And the people that are telling the truth in independent media, of which there are some, they make them out to be crazy conspiracy theorists. Everybody, Ron Paul, Zero Hedge, anti-media, all of us ended up on a proper night list saying we were Russian propaganda. Rand Paul right now is working for Putin, because anybody that taps at the truth a little bit, they got to throw some BS at it. They got to throw some
Guess
money.
what? I just did the math, and I realized that in 2040, the Catch Me Outside girl can run for president.
Let's do it. Let's make that happen.
I mean, we've got 24 years to plan for this. This is going to be the biggest campaign ever, for 24 years of planning. But I'm going to go ahead and throw her hat in the ring right now. Catch Me Outside girl 2040.
Why not? I mean, why can't we do that? What's wrong with doing that?
There's nothing wrong with that. That's where we're at. I mean, if we're gonna be post satire, then let's go balls to the wall with it. Let's go full idiocracy and let's do it now. Catch Me Outside girl 2040.
In fairness, That's already happened. Like, we have gone balls to the wall. We have done a complete idiocracy. Donald Trump's the president of the United States. Omarosa, from a reality game show,
now bear in mind, though,
in the White House.
When you talk about balls to the wall, though, and you mention Trump, remember, those are our balls to that wall.
Look.
And you said we pay for that, what, 2-3 times, depending on some the way you want to calculate it?
Why don't people want to call him out for his actual transgressions here? Do people not realize what is going on in the Middle East? Of course they don't. Because you've got corporate media like CNN that is just wanting to talk about these tax returns. You've got a large demographic of people, and this is, conspiracy name. I'm going to say a conspiracy word here. George Soros. I do think you get movements of people of him and people like him that push these agendas as distraction pieces. And the reason that something like the Women's March, look, there was a lot of that was organic, because it's like this. And I talk about wrestling on this show for an important reason, because politics and wrestling are identical, professional wrestling. If the audience starts cheering is contagious, okay? Booing is contagious. That's what we see, especially with Donald Trump. I think the people that support Donald Trump, they get enamored with the cheering, and that sucked them in because they want to be on the winning team, and vice versa. I'm going to be on the moral side. I'm going to stand up for what's right because he's so vile and he's so this and he's so that, which he is, and so they go to the other way, and so they just believe all the garbage that's against him. And so there is some organic crap to all these marches, and the Women's March, which was a joke, and this tax march that they want to do, which hopefully they don't do anymore because of this, but it's a joke if they want to do it. Nothing's accomplished from any of this. If you want to have a march, let's have a march. Let's march against the actual policies of what our government is doing. If you want to have a march on tax day, let's have a march about taxes. Where are our taxes going? What are you doing with our tax dollars? It started way before Donald Trump, but it's still continuing. Let's go ahead and do something about that. Let's stop living in this fantasy that it's one guy that's in office has changed the whole everything. No, the person in office is a reflection of the culture, okay? Because whether you believe that this person was elected legitimately or whether you believe that this person was installed, they're still a reflection of the culture, because even if they were installed, they know this is the person that will keep people quiet at a minimum, or they will keep the agenda going the way we need it to keep going. They are a representation of culture. Barack Obama was, Donald Trump is, George Bush, or Dick Cheney, whoever was running the country, whatever that was.
People, you know what I think?
Go ahead.
I think that Snoop Dogg is an inside job.
Why can't he be? I mean, let's just have him be president. What's it matter?
That would be freaking awesome. That'd be way better candidate than Hillary Clinton. Come on now. The Democrats need to get on Snoop Dogg.
That's actually, like, I'm not even being funny. I'm not being sarcastic when I say I believe Snoop Dogg would do better in a national election than Hillary Clinton. I believe that.
Or Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre, man, he's you know, everybody wants somebody that's not going to be corrupted by the corporate system. I mean, Dr. Dre's got enough money.
Yeah, no, I don't think he would do well.
He's too smart for that too.
I don't think Dr. Dre would do well, but I think Snoop would. I think that's where culture's at. I think we're at that level.
No, we definitely know the very first thing that Snoop Dogg would do, the very first act is Snoop Dogg as president of the United States of America. Legalize it, baby.
Look, there's people in there right now that want to do that. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because of money.
And Jeff Sessions, his old ass.
Yeah, Jeff Sessions sure ain't going to do it, but whatever to that. And look, they want to reamp the drug war. I mean, that affects people on a daily basis, how they get up. And I don't want to go down this road, but how in the world people tie in the opioid epidemic with marijuana is crazy. But again, John McCain was on the floor of the Senate calling another senator a tool, Putin, this week. So again, we're all just saying crazy stuff at this point. We're all just saying words.
Well, you know how many people I personally know that have gotten on harder drugs. Some of them were fortunate and got off of them. Some of them died and didn't. That were on hard drugs that started their journey at a doctor's office and a dentist office with legal, prescribed painkillers.
Tons of people that happens with.
Never happens with marijuana. Just simply doesn't. Sorry, it doesn't.
That happens with tons of people. But look, people need...
I mean, what about alcohol for a minute? Let's talk about that for a second. How many people that kills? How many lives that alcohol ruins? I'm not talking about legislation for alcohol and this, that, and the other. I think I've been on record of the show. I don't drink. Quit a couple of years ago. But at the same time, it's not up to me to tell people who can drink and who can't drink, just like it's not up to me to tell people who can snort cocaine and who can't snort cocaine. Now, we know that there are a lot of negative effects if you do a lot of cocaine. But, at the same time, cocaine used to be in Coca-Cola at one point in time. You used to be able to buy a cough syrup over the counter cough syrup.
You're going to get an eye roll at that because that happened before TV existed. And that's basically the truth, because culture before TV didn't happen. You have to remember that. For people that are alive today, if TV didn't exist, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
That was in ancient times.
So, I mean, but at the same time, there was a point in American, in American life where you had these highly dangerous regulated substances and common everyday household items. And then suddenly that disappeared and there was a warning label on it and so on and so forth. And, I just don't think that, the American government has a lot more important issues, a lot more pressing issues to deal with than the legislation of people's individual and private lives. And again, not saying that's not a personal choice that I make. I personally don't do drugs. I am definitely on record as being pro marijuana. Everything else I can pretty much take it or leave it. And
I personally feel, Shannon, I feel like that is a horse that has been dating Ray Rice for a long time and has been beaten senseless. I think that horse has been beat to death. If you don't realize right now that the drug war is stupid, it's like everything else. Come out of your shell. You got to just view the world for reality. Treat the world around you. Be kind. Be good to people. If they're hurting themselves, get them help. Don't hurt them.
I mean, how many people kill themselves with obesity? Let's start outlawing food.
You can go down the list.
And some states have actually started playing with the idea and these outrageous soda taxes and this, that, and the other.
Okay,
so
the problem
just go
is
somewhere
this.
else for the soda.
The problem is this, and we've got 1 minute left. We need to talk. We need to have a whole episode on this. But look, people have intertwined their morality or their spirituality inside of government, because with the Republican Party, they've tied it in with religion, and the Democrats just think the government can fix everything, and they can't do any of that. Government is not God. For Anti-Media Radio, for Shannon Madden, I am SM Gibson. Anti-Media Radio, UCY, out.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.
The Anti-Media Radio, your host Nick.